Hi, everybody. You are a unique individual with the power to change lives just by being who you are, sharing your wisdom, and telling your story. Welcome, everybody, to Jen's Pen, where we find interesting people who make the world a better place and ask them to share their story. Today, we are speaking with Perry Zhang. He is the founder and CEO of Cash Flow Portal, which is a real estate syndication software and a real investor portal founded in April 2020. Welcome, Perry. Thank you for showing up.
Thank you, Jen, for having me here.
So it's really simple. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how you help the world.
I create the real estate syndication software, Cash Flow Portal, to help sponsors streamline equity raising. So these are the sponsors who put together money to buy a large apartment complex, and they say they need to raise about $7 million to buy a 172 unit apartment complex in Dallas. And these are for working families. And there's a lot of paperwork involved with raising money. And so the software is to help them streamline equity raising, automate their operations. Now, it's a feel-good business for two reasons. The first reason is the investors. I truly believe that not everyone wants to be rich, but almost everyone wants to be financially free, right?
Yes.
So you want to have the ability to do whatever you want, whenever you want, and be able to live and enjoy life using passive income, okay? And secondly, it's a feel-good business in this multifamily real estate because you are providing the livelihood for hundreds of households that I remember when I was a sponsor, I will go to one of the properties and there will be a bus that stops at the property and out came 20 children. And it just dawned on me that, yeah, I am one of the owners of this property that hosts, hundreds of families. And it's my job to provide a safe environment for them. So it's a feel-good business that does well for both the people who raise money as well as the people who invest.
That's awesome. So you're helping people on all aspects of the spectrum here. You've got your tenants that you're keeping safe and clean and happy, and you've got your investors who you're rewarding with their passive income. Fantastic. Well, can you tell us a little bit about your story, about how you got to where you are?
Sure. I started in real estate about 6.5 years ago when I first bought my condo in the Bay Area. Then about 9 months later, I bought another single family house where I house hack. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I bought a 5-bedroom, live in one of them, rent out the other 4, and so on. And I saw that this is not that hard and I don't mind living with housemates. So I kept buying one house every 9 to 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 houses later, I saw that single family is not the right way to scale. So I end up going into multifamily. So we bought a 7-unit, then we bought a 172 unit, then we bought a 408 unit. And those are large syndications that we raise external money to fund. And then we also closed on 236 units. So I think a lesson to the listeners is that 6.5 years ago, I will have no idea that I will be going into real estate syndication. But the most important thing is to just take that very first step.
Right. So tell us, how did you get to the point where you realized that you wanted to start owning real estate?
Yeah. I wanted to, that's a good question. At the time, I'm a pretty mathematical person. So I was doing math on what is my rent and what if I purchase a house and what will be my rent if I take the rental income that I'm getting and then my part of the rent and then there is the mortgage. If those two scenarios I'm indifferent to both of them, then it's a good investment. I also had a spreadsheet that calculates if I spend the same down payment into S&P and generates a 7 to 8% annualized return versus putting it into this condo, what will be the difference in returns? And the answer is they're about the same. And so if they're about the same, some people can look at it, well, if they're about the same, why don't you do the easiest thing, which is invest in S&P and never look back, right? Never really, there's no work involved with that. But for me, because they're the same, I would rather have that be the same and have control over that investment, and learn how to manage tenants. That's probably the most critical skill set that people can learn, can pick up. It's only after you learn how to manage tenants firsthand, and all the providing a system, can you then go into real estate syndication, in my opinion. Because if you don't know how to manage the first line, you don't know how to manage the property management company, who then manage the regional, then manage the on-site, then manage the maintenance. Like, it's too many layers of an interaction.
Right, it's like building blocks. You got to get from here to there. There's a space in between there, though, that you have to learn.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, tell us, let's get a little personal. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. I came from technology background. So I was a software engineer, live in Amazon and Twitter. Then the last 5 years, I became an engineer manager. And that really taught me how to manage, influence, and motivate people, and building a great team. I do believe that that's the only way to scale. And even in my startup, I didn't start off by starting to code myself, even though I can code. I started off by building a team first. And then the way I think about it is, if you know what's the equilibrium, you don't really want to do something in between. You just go straight to the equilibrium. And equilibrium for me is, eventually I should not be coding, right? So I might as well stop now instead of code and then try to transition.
So it's really on your heart. What I'm hearing you say, a lot of you're giving a lot of advice, and you're doing a lot of teaching. So it's on your heart to help other investors learn how to invest and sort of go to the highest heights that they can.
Sure. Yeah.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
So when did you sort of start realizing that you enjoyed helping other people, like helping them, teach them, and build them up as people?
Yeah, good question. I will give kind of like two parts to it. When I was growing up, I think my parents are very generous and very. My dad was a teacher, and we always open up our house for people to just come in and drop by. That's back in China. So I kind of like gregarious gatherings. I like that. Okay, and then the second part is, I have some role models in my life that believe in me more than I believe in myself. And so I want to pay it forward by believing in my engineers or team members more than they believe in themselves, because they don't know what they're capable of until someone else already is a step ahead of them. It's like, you can do it, and they actually did it, and they're like, oh, okay, oh, this is cool. And then the next time they face a similar problem, they will remember the things I used to not believe I can do it, I actually could. So that's a good mindset. And then the last one is, I get a lot of joy, being a manager back at Live, getting people promoted, getting people to the next level. That's one of the most joyful things of being a manager. So I appreciate that, and I want to instill that culture in my own company.
That is excellent. I find that to be very true. In my own personal life, having someone believe in me more than I believe in myself has forwarded and changed my life in many, many ways. And of course, I want to pay it forward as well. But I think that's wonderful. That's something that you instill in your employees. That's really excellent. So you said you grew up in China. How did you get over here?
Yeah, so we immigrated when I was 11 years old. Yeah, so my parents were definitely, lower middle class, or whatever you call them. They work really hard. They own a Chinese restaurant, and they work 364 days a year, except for Thanksgiving. We know we take Thanksgiving off, so we always go on vacation on Thanksgiving nowadays.
Oh, that's awesome. I love Thanksgiving. Is one of my favorite, if not my favorite holiday. I do love that. Excellent. Yeah. So growing up, what were your experiences as far as maybe helping people as you were growing up, and sort of building that even before you started getting to work, and people believing in you? You said that people, actually, sorry, let me kind of take a different tack here. You said that people believed in you more than you believed in yourself, and that helped you advance. Why do you think that you didn't believe in yourself? Where did that come from?
Yeah, good question. Why didn't I not believe in myself? So how do I put it? That's a good question, by the way. I think I have a ton of confidence and I'm very resilient, but maybe being a immigrant, I adhere to the stereotype that we're not supposed to be confident until, you know, we look at things that we value objectively and we say, hey, we actually should do better than most people can. And so there's that. I was telling my friends the other day that in China, I was quote unquote the class president. So I was the one who bosses people around what to do. And then I became the president of the president. So every class has a president, and then I was the president among all of them. And then when I came to US, my English was not good. I didn't know English when I came. And the stereotype is that I'm really good at math. And I was, okay? So I studied really, really hard in math. I did all the AP exams, blah, blah, blah. And so, but I never really, I was like club president and whatnot, but it wasn't as natural as the leadership that I was taking back in China. And it probably took me about 15, 20 years of professional career. It's 15, 20 years of school and professional career to realize that, I have a founder product fit with managing and telling people what to do. Like I didn't feel shy doing it. And so when I quit my job, W-2 job, and I went full-time in my startup, it felt like I was like a fish, finally got to swim in the water. It's like, okay, I finally don't need to listen to anyone. And so, yeah, so perhaps it's the culture and the expectation, and you try to fit the expectation. So that happens to a lot of people in this world.
Yeah.
They go to a good college, they go to a good high school, they were told they're smart, and they'll go to a good college, and they're really, really good in college. And those people, because of whatever reason, they end up going to PhDs because they want to crave that kind of mindset that I'm really intellectually smart. And then maybe, 5 years after the PhD, they realize, actually, that's not what I want. So yeah, it's a long way of saying, sometimes if you're not happy about what you do, take a step back, and maybe you're not in the right industry or the right role that's consistent or congruent with your character.
That's a really, really good point. I'm glad you made that point. I think that's very true. I think especially, I mean, I know that in China, or I believe that in China, the culture puts a lot of emphasis on education and especially in the maths, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And here, we're raised, at least I was, and I think generally most Americans are raised to think, you get through high school, you go to college, you get a good job, you do well in your education, you do well in your work, and that just, especially these days, doesn't really translate into reality. I mean, these days, like you get to a point and you're told this is how life is, and then you get to that point where you have to go off and live your life after being prepared all this time, and you found out that that's not actually how it is. And yeah, I love that you were able to step back and see that it wasn't you, really. I mean, yes, you had to build up your confidence and stuff like that, but in the end you got to see that it wasn't you that was a problem. It was that you belonged in a different position, you belonged doing something different, and that you love, that aligns with your personality and your characteristics.
That's really very true. That's very true. Yeah,
that's excellent. That's a great lesson, I think, for people to take away with them if they're unhappy where they are, to time to sort of look around, like the expectations placed upon you aren't necessarily the right thing for you. Excellent.
That's exactly right. I'll give you an example. I do know that when I was in my W-2 job, I'm very contrarian, and I have all these crazy ideas. And the matter of fact is that decisions have more or less been made by the leadership, and so you kind of just following orders. And
Right.
so it really stifled my creativity. And at the time, I didn't understand why this is so. Why do I feel like I couldn't change things? So one thing I learned about myself is I actually like control a lot. I do like the ability to influence and determine my destiny. So, and I know there's like a personality test or whatnot. There's one personality called DISC, DISC, dominant, interactive, supporting, and conscientious. And it wasn't until 2 or 3 years ago that we took the personality test, and I was the most dominant person on the team. Like, dominant is not bad. It's just that,
right. No,
yeah,
it's
that's like,
just
oh,
the personality,
this is why.
interaction style. Right.
Yeah, this is why I think I'm decisive. I just make decisions. I don't understand why people couldn't keep up. Now I know that's a fault on its own. So it's not like it's better. It's just that's why, yeah, I was a good engineer, but I wasn't really happy in that role because that's mostly following directions.
Right. No, I mean, I'm familiar with DISC as well. I'm a high I. And
yes.
I find it really useful in the sense of, I mean, it's a personality test, but it's really a way of interacting. And if you can understand how other people interact, you can then interact with them in a more constructive manner. So yeah, and it's a really important thing to understand your own interaction style and how it differs from others. That's really cool. That's really cool. So I just had another question I wanted to ask you. We're talking about personality tests and finding out about, you're talking about UW2 and finding out, okay, yeah, I'm not quite sure. I've lost it. I lost the question.
That's okay. Totally okay.
Yeah, so how do you find then DISC? Do you find that helps you? I know this is, it's a popular personality test in sort of groups that I'm a part of. So I'm interested to find someone else who has used it, and to see how you find it helps you interact with others.
I think it's extremely helpful. I personally think it's actually better than the Myers personality. I do think it's none of the traits of the DISC is bad. They're just They all has advantages and disadvantages, but it helps you understand a lot better. So to give you an example, I was an engineer manager, and there's a product manager, and the product manager is I just felt the product manager is quote unquote slow, couldn't come up with solutions fast enough, right? And I said the customers are suffering. There's a huge pain point. Let's go fix it. And they just kind of like drag their feet in a way, okay? But every solution that they came up with is 10x better than whatever I can think of. So one day, after I learned about DISC, so I'm high D, dominant, decisive, bottom line, direct, assertive. They are supporting. They want to build good relationships. They're slow. They're focused. They are particular and meticulous. And one day, after learning about this, I was like, oh, that's why we don't get along, quote unquote, right? and then now we have a great relationship. And one day I said to him, if you leave the solution up to me, I will always come out with a better horse. But if you come out with a solution, you will build a car. So please, here's the problem, go build a car. And yeah, so I highly, highly respect him. And in the workplace, you need people who are high in S to be loyal, to be consistent, and do almost a perfect job. If you have a bunch of D's and I's running around, they just have the vision, but they don't really execute.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a really fun conversation, Perry. Thank you so much for coming. I've had pleasure talking to you. We've had a wide-ranging conversation, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoyed this call. It's very philosophical and fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad.
Yeah.
That's sort of I aim for that. I aim for fun. I'm a high I. What can I say?
That's right.
Well, again, thank you. And everybody out there, just want to remind you that everyone has a tale to tell. So what is yours?
What is telltale, by the way?
Tale to tell. So tale is a story. It's just another word for story. So if you have a tale to tell, it's a story, a story to share. So what, yeah. So the idea is sort of like the story that you have, your personal life story, right? How that feeds into what you've learned in life, the lessons you've learned, and how you carry that forward.
Absolutely. One of the I don't think too far back, so I'll just kind of come up with a story that I had of this week, literally this week. So I really believe in talent and managing a good team. I believe the right people in the right position can be way smarter than I am. Okay, so in order to get the best talent, I flew to. So I was in New York City. I saw this one person that did extremely well in our interviews. They all went to MIT. They got a gold medal in the International Math Olympiad and representing their country. And that's incredible. Like that's top 30 in the nation, in the world in math. Because such a rare talent, I do not mind taking a time out of my schedule to meet this person. And how I met this person is I was in New York City. I said, I will be in Boston if you want to meet up for coffee. And he said, yeah, let's meet up for coffee. So it's a coffee at 9:30 a.m. 6 a.m. I took the flight from New York to Boston, meet up with coffee with this guy. Okay. And he told me, why in Boston? I'm like, I like the weather. And then like for an hour later, I took the flight back to New York. That is so tiring. I probably will not do that again. But I think those little stories just it convinced me the need to hustle and just to get it done. And so yeah, I was very, very jet lagged after that.
I can imagine.
So yeah, I've been pretty tired last couple of days. So, but it shows that if I want something, I would do everything I can to get it. Yeah, like really.
Yeah, that's a good lesson to carry forward. Definitely, yeah. Like you do what you have to get the advantage that you need, or to give someone else the advantage.
Now, that person may still not join, which is fine. Like, but I still, I made the right choice because like it's not my expectation for them to join. It's my expectation that the principle is I will go out of my way to attract the best talent. That's the principle. Whether they join or not, I cannot be disappointed if they don't. Yeah.
So do you have a story about not attracting the best talent and how like learning the lesson that I need to attract the best talent?
So I, for better for worse, I'm not bad at letting people go. As in, I have done it. I know how to do it. And so, and there's this book called No Rules Rule. It's a Netflix culture on how they built the company Netflix. And
really?
Their idea is that if you hire really smart people, you can cut down on processes. Because you let smart people make decisions, they're pretty autonomous. Because they're very intelligent, they know what's going on, and they don't need to follow certain, like processes. So I really believe in increasing talent density in the organization, and the rest usually takes care of itself. And when you go to work, one of the biggest joys is learning from your fellow coworkers. So if you're working hard and your fellow coworker is getting paid the same by working way less, you just feel like, no, this is not fun. Like, why am I doing this? But if you go there and consistently people are working harder than you and are smarter than you, then you just feel this need, okay, I just want to be better at this one thing that everyone seems to be really good at. Yeah, like I've seen it. This is why I think that in most tech companies, people don't force you to work hard. You work hard because you're competing against everyone else. It's like college all over again.
So what are you looking for, Perry? If people want to get in touch with you, why would they get in touch with you?
Yeah, for people, they can get in touch with me on perry@cashflowportal.com or go to the website cashflowportal.com. They can also join the Facebook group called Techies in Real Estate. That's where we discuss about how technology and real estate and how you can get into real estate if you're working tech.
Excellent, excellent. So we'll put that information in the comment section here so people can get in touch with you. And I guess that's it. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for enlightening us and letting us hear your stories.
Thank you, Jen, for this opportunity. Yeah.